on different, so different type of data analysis with different, with R, with Galaxy, etc. And they started to become some sort of expert in their small communities. And they get to ask, people came to ask help. So they decided that it could be also a good way to learn how to be, that their colleagues could also learn the same way that they did. But there were no workshops planned soon. So they decided to be first a node. They asked the Galanteries team if they could be a node for an hybrid training. It could be at occasions to help their colleagues and see how it is to be an helper, if they like it, and to learn how to teach also. They liked it so much that they wanted to go further. So they wanted to become a proper trainer. So they follow a train the trainer courses. They follow the one from the Carpentries to become an official instructor and learn about educational psychology and instructional design. And they follow also the Elixir Train the Trainer program, where they could learn principle of learning and teaching. So they feel more confidence about giving trainings, and particularly for using Galaxy, because it's the main tool that they know. So they came back and start to think about giving a proper training. So they could use, they need to find tutorials for that. So they came back to the Galaxy training materials website, and they picked out of the numerous tutorials there. And they found out that the tutorials are also ready to be used by instructor, not only by participants, but also for instructor for workshops. Because of this step-by-step data analysis, there is some theoretical explanation of the analysis and the steps, and sometimes hidden in boxes to help the instructor to get familiar with the ID or the different steps. And also because of these hands-on boxes that show how tools can be run directly into Galaxy with all the parameters, and also explanation on how to check the result. The tutorials also came with regular assessment in form of question and answer boxes that helps to think about the analysis, and it's also a good way to interact with the participant during the trainings. There is also some hints for some known pitfalls there, and more important, the data are there. So they thought, okay, they have the tutorials, they need now the Galaxy server to do that. They thought about maybe they could deploy one Galaxy server, but it's too much work for someone that have no administration background, so no sysadmin background. So they found the use Galaxy.star. So it's especially the US, European, and Australian one that support the GTN tutorials with all the tools needed. And they have free registration, as I already mentioned, which is a good start for that. So a good first infrastructure start for infrastructure. And they found out that these three also main instances or servers, they have all the data directly accessible inside the Galaxy server. So they don't need to transfer the data into Galaxy to share with the participants. They are already there. And they are updated every 2 weeks with the new tutorials or the new data needed. So they decided to use the European Galaxy server. And when they read a bit more about how to give training for that, they also read about the training infrastructure as a service, which is free registration, and it's a private queue for the training participants. So the jobs run faster, there are no waiting time in the main queue, no delay for the training. And all the official Galaxy training materials are guaranteed to work there and regularly tested. And it comes also for the instructor with a dashboard to see how the participants are progressing. It's anonymously and public overview of the jobs that are running for the participants. So if it's green, everything is fine, the jobs are done. If it's yellow, it's running. If it's red, there is error. So you can, as an instructor, change your pace to follow that. It's really useful for remote training. So Sam gave several workshops using Galaxy, joined the Galaxy training network, and was happy for that. They were even invited to join a larger community of trainers, the life science trainers, which is a place where the idea is to build a global community of practice to improve life science by ensuring scientists and educators to have the latest skill and knowledge they need to succeed. The key activity of this group is to advocate for trainers as important members of the life science community, sharing knowledge and expertise related to professional development of trainers in the life science, and developing and promoting standards, for example, for short format training in life science. And in this community, so there is a Slack channel with more than 300 members. It's a monthly call, community calls, and website with resources and trainer registry and bibliographies. It was started by Jason Williams, and I think it's a really good place to join. So some liked it, and so some did several trainings, and they they did also on parallel publish their own analysis and created a Galaxy workflow for that, and got requested to give trainings on these topics. So they need now to develop their own Galaxy-related materials. So they follow the tutorials for contribute. So on the training material website, they found that there is tutorials to explain step by step how to modify existing tutorials, but also creating new ones. So all the tutorials are written in Markdown to be as easy as possible to contribute. There is some formatting that are easy to learn to create the special boxes for hands-on questions. And to render the tutorials on website, Jekyll is used, but they don't need to learn about that. And to create really tutorials, we developed also the training development kit, which is a web server to create skeleton of a tutorial. So it takes a workflow on a Galaxy instance, extracts the different steps of the workflow, and format them with the boxes with displaying the name of the tools and the different parameters needed. Once it's extracted, it creates an archive with the correct structure to submit that directly to the Galaxy training materials. And what the contributors need to do is to add the explanation to the text itself. So explanation of the different steps and questions and and the assessment. So when they get ready with the tutorials, some wanted to submit to the community. So the Galaxy training materials are stored on GitHub, so they submitted the tutorials as a pull request. They got review from senior contributor that gives comments and also provide some sort of mentoring to show what needs to be done to fit to the best practices of the Galaxy training material. Once they are done, so the pull request has been merged, the tutorials are available on the training material website, and some also are listed now, become part of the community of contributor, and they got listed in the Hall of Fame, where that lists all the contributors to the Galaxy training materials. They also get their own page that describe their contribution there. With the materials online, they could also get feedbacks from the people who check the tutorials on their own. So there is, at the end of each tutorials, a feedback form where the results are collected on a Google form and submitted directly to a GitHub issues to make them visible. We enabled that a bit less than 2 years ago, and we since then collected more than 1,200 mostly positive feedbacks, and also detail of what is working and what could be improved for each tutorial. So we regularly aggregate and report this feedback to the community. So some get more and more involved in the community. They also participated in the online collaboration fest that are organized by the GTN and the community calls. And they wanted to be more involved, and they started to review content, contribute more largely to the Galaxy training material. They finished also their PhD. So they start a new project as a postdoc, and they wanted to do it in I would say, more openly. So more following the open science practices, and so wanted to become an open science practitioner. And they heard about the Open Life Science program, which is a 16-month long mentorship and cohort-based training for open science ambassador. The participants there are taking part of 2 types of calls. So the cohort group training calls that introduce open science topics with guest speakers and experts, and one-on-one mentorship discussion with their mentors about how this concept can be applied to their project. And at the end of each call, there is assignments that are given to them to apply the open skills to their project. So some decided to join this project to gain open leadership skills and apply them directly and on their project. to build a confidence that allow them to embed open science in all aspects of their work, and not just the original project ideas that they brought to Open Life Science. So during this program, they learn about how to develop project openly. So I will open license, roadmap, contributor, guidelines, code of conduct, GitHub also more in depth, how to develop open science more generally, so open source software, open hardware, open data, open access, preprint, DOI citations, open protocols, open education and trainings. There is discussion also about verifications, but also how to sustain a community, how to build a sustainable community, caring about mental health, ally scale, how to design an empower for inclusivity inside the community. So they really enjoy this program, and they decided that now that they are more familiar with that, they could also help others. So they understand more the gap that others may have in open science. So they could join Open Lab Science as a mentor to guide other mentees with our project and become an expert to share their knowledge with all participants by giving talks during course and help other projects with some consulting. In reward, they receive some mentoring support and build meaningful connection with the community behind the Open Lab Science. So the SAM story, that how can we empower learners, from learners to whatever is important, to trainers, developer of content, mentor, expert. It's a really fake story that I came up with, but it's likely, it's possible. And how can we do that? There is many ways possible. I just show the one I know because I'm involved in this project, but there is many ways you could do that within your own bioinformatics community. So the question now is how to empower usable and comprehensive bioinformatics trainings. What did I learn over the last 4 years about bioinformatics trainings? One, the first thing I want to share is we should prefer short formats. They are ideal to acquire and reinforce skills, and especially with the rapid evolution of new technology and approaches, it's become more and more difficult for formal trainings to stay up to date. And the massive the MOOC have fallen short. They suffer from low completion rates. They vary widely in scope, rigor, and approaches. And they are also difficult. They present also some difficulties for learners that wish to interact, to ask questions, and yeah. So short format trainings provide point of need trainings where the participants can learn skills that they can really immediately apply that into practice. They are often lower in time commitment and costs, making them more accessible than other alternatives. Another aspect that is important it's when we develop new training is that we usually, when we develop new training resources, we need to create materials. And we often turn on the internet to find inspiration and find existing materials that we could use or adapt. But it can be really challenging and time consuming to do that. So with the working group within Elixir, we are working on how to translate the FAIR principle into rules to make training materials easier to find, access, reuse, and cite. I know that Melissa did a presentation of the poster about this project today. I will just recap them quickly. So, and I think they are really important. So the first thing is we should share the materials online as early as possible. Describe the materials with structured metadata and keyword terminologies. Give unique identifiers to make materials findable and citable. Register the material and registry like TESS, the Elixir portals for trainings, or the Goblet portals. Define accessible, or I will say even better, make it freely accessible without needing to log in or something. Use interoperable formats, so no PDF, but for different contexts. For example, in the Galaxy training materials, we use Markdown, and that we could use to generate the website, but we could use to create slides, etc. Make the materials reusable for trainers with detailed contextual metadata and permissive license. Make the materials usable for trainees with information about the material, the learning outcome, the prerequisites. Welcome contributions with clear rules, warm tone and suggestions for contribution, and keep the materials up to date and versioned. Another aspect is share all resources online. So give access to all the resources, not only the material, the tools, the data, and other infrastructure needed to be able to run the tutorial. And we can learn from the COVID situation that more and more stuff needs to be online, including the teaching itself. So you have the hybrid training, which is still a bit face-to-face, but you have full online program that the Open Lab Science that we are running. And I know that over the last month, there were a lot of online training that were given. And there were a lot of, there were groups that developed recommendations for online training, for example, the carpentries did that. Another aspect is provide the infrastructure to make the training reusable or usable and reusable. For individual learners that take the materials on their own, provide the data and the tools, and even better, provide an environment for learning that can also be used afterwards on to analyze their own data. And for instructor, detail how to use the materials, your materials. Provide the technical infrastructure that are easy to set up for them. Empower learners by giving them some tasks. Learning by doing is one good way, and provide also regular assessment, exercise, or tasks to do that they feel that they can do it. Give them the opportunity and tools to teach their colleagues and their community what you teach them. Show them how to contribute also, which is what we do usually during workshops. I try to show them how to fix an error in tutorial directly. Maybe they will not all of them will many of them will forget, but at least a few of them know how to do with that. They will feel empowered to contribute back. Build paths also in your community from learners to instructor and developer of training content, and mentors and experts. Provide a safe environment for interaction and support. Give a space also for informal discussion. So when you have in-person training, so having coffee break is really important, and you be accessible. Do not force people to ask questions, but provide a space where they can ask questions anonymously. It can be the post-it, it can be a shared document. For hybrid and online trainings, use the breakout rooms in Zoom for letting the people interact together. Have a code of conduct that is clearly visible and reminded at the beginning of each event to make the people feeling safe and welcome within the training events. Work open with clear rules for contribution, make the content and structure open, communicate as openly as possible to help develop a culture to work collaboratively and not compete. Collect feedback at different levels. It can be at the level of the tutorials, the training events, and collect for a lot of people. So not only the people that take the tutorials, the learners, but also helpers, trainers, organizers of events. And there is many ways to collect feedback. So there is the post-it versions. You have also can have questions at the end of a shared document. So for example, in the Open Lab Science, at the end of each course, we have the 4 questions. What worked? What didn't work? What would you change? And what surprised you? And we got feedbacks every time almost. It could be also a form at the end of online tutorials like we do in the Galaxy Training Network. It can be an issue on GitHub. And collect the feedbacks, reflect on them, and apply them. Build a community around your training, because it's mostly the only way that training can be sustainable. It's a case for the Galaxy Training Network, it's a case for the carpentries. And it's a good way to feel support, like with the life science trainer communities. Train the people, so train the instructors to give the people the opportunity to teach to their communities using the resources that you share, and to be sustainable. For example, the carpentries, it's all volunteer. It's more than 2,500 researchers that was able to reach more than 64,000 researchers through many workshops over the world. And another aspect that is important for me is mentor everybody on everything. So how to use your materials, how to fix an error, how to create your materials, how to teach. And it could be also a full project that we do in the Open Lab Science. That you are not the only one to be able to do the stuff, to give responsibilities to people. and acknowledge the people, recognize the value of each contribution to create space and create a space to thank people. People will be more eager to contribute and help again if you thank them. And it comes with be kind and supportive. So trust and have confidence to watch each other and gratitude. It's really the best to build a supportive network of friends and colleagues. So I hope with that I shared with you my vision of what we could do to empower usable and comprehensive bioinformatics trainings, what we can do together to have a wonderful bioinformatics trainings in the future. On that, I would like to thank for the University of Freiburg, the Backofen Lab, and the Freiburg Galaxy team who I work that allow me to work on this amazing project. The DNB for the funding, Elixir for the support, and the wonderful community. And the most of the work I presented here was made by communities I'm just involved in, for the carpentry, the life science trainers. And I would like to give a special thanks to the Galaxy Training Network and the Open Life Science, because these two projects are really great and I love them. And I would like to thank you for listening to this talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bérénice. I'm very sure, yeah, everybody's applauding you. That's wonderful. And it was a great talk about how to empower people, really.
Thank you.
So I guess we can have, so we already have a question in the Q&A tab. So there's someone that has, so it's Marcela Davila who has asked, how is sensitive data handled in Galaxy?
So in Galaxy,
yeah.
There is currently work to make that more clear. So I'm not 100% sure how it works because I'm not really working with sensitive data currently, but there is work of working of having their own Galaxy instance behind a VPN, for example, blocked. There is, I'm sorry, but I cannot really answer this question in a good way because I'm not an expert in that. I'm more expert in training, sorry, for Galaxy.
No problem, yeah.
But I know that there is a lot of work going on that. I can just, yeah, you could maybe also ask the question definitely to Björn Gröning, that there is currently work in the Galaxy team, Freiburg Galaxy team on that. And I know also in the US, they have similar issues. So they are working on that. You have the Docker images also with Galaxy instances where you can, if you deploy a Docker Galaxy instance using Docker, you are on your local machine or something like this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. So the next question from Kakembo Frederick. What will be your say on commercializing of precious training materials versus making it open source?
So my answer will be make it open source, but yeah, I think I'm not really eager of commercializing the material in themselves. I would say the trainings to not, I don't know how to say that. So the people that give trainings so the materials, I will not make them commercially. I will keep it open source, but it's more the way you give training that is important, because so the training materials are important, but also the trainer themselves also are important. And I think it's the way you could, make it. It's something we are just thinking also, for example, with the Open Life Science program. What can we do for that? So we want to make it fully open, so all the materials available, but maybe finding a way to be sustainable on the long run for that.
That was one of my questions also. How is the sustainability of Galaxy and also all the open science project? How do you?
So the idea is, it's why it's important to empower the people, because then it's sustainable on the long run. Because if you have enough, if you teach the people how to contribute or how to maintain the full infrastructure, the materials, or develop new materials, it's the only way, I think, to have a sustainable model. And it's what we are doing with the Galaxy training materials. So I would say that it was starting by us, by only few people 4 years ago. And now we have a lot of contributors, and I'm gone for 6 months almost now, and it's still running, and there is many contributions, and there is people, a lot of people now taking care of that. And empowering people is the best way to have a sustainable system, I think.
Thank you. There's a question also from Tucci. Thank you for the great talk. Yesterday in the web session, we talked about the importance of being able to track the activities of students, or rather getting a sense of their pace. So you mentioned that in one of the training programs, you track the pace of learners. Can you elaborate on that?
So we have this with the training infrastructure as a service. So the instructor come up with a dashboard. So you register for the training infrastructure as a service, a link is given to you as an instructor, where you ask where the people that take part of these trainings, they will go there, and it will be redirected automatically to Galaxy. But they are listed as user of your training. So they are inside Galaxy, and there are some special users that are part of your training. So you could follow then how their job are running. You don't have any information of which job are running or not from which participants, but you have a global visions of that with this dashboard that show you how the tutorials are running, so how the jobs are running. If it's green, the jobs are done. If it's yellow, it's running. If it's red, there is issue. So there is error on their job. So one of the tools is crashing or something. So you could follow, if you have a lot of red or a lot of yellow, you can say, okay, I need to wait because the participant, the job of the participant are still running, so I cannot continue. I need to answer questions or something else. So it's the way we have a vision for people, for online training especially. It's really great because then it's a better way to see how the room is doing. And when you have in-person trainings, you could use the post-its, which is really great also, where when the jobs are running or something is running or they are doing exercise, you put the yellow post-it. If it's when they are done, they put the green one. If it's red, if there are questions or if they are stuck, you put the red post-it there. So it's a good way to follow how the people track the pace of the people. But it's mostly I would say, within a training, not the learner on the long run, I would say. It's more within one short time period. Mm-hmm. For long run, I have not really an answer for that.
Thank you very much. If anyone wants to ask a question live, just let me know and I can give you the microphone for that. And I had one more. I had one more question while waiting to see if someone wants to raise a hand. Is that I was wondering if it's a great idea. So also Matheus also said something about the automatic translation also of the materials by Google. Do you have any kind of verification afterwards, or someone monitoring or curating that?
Currently, no. I regularly check the French translation to see how it's done, to have an idea. But because I'm French, so I can check how it is. But no, currently no. But I know that some people are using it, but we don't get any feedback about that. So.
Or complaints or any suggestions?
Yeah, no complaints or any suggestions. Mm-hmm. The only thing that we are working on is simplifying as much as possible the English. Because if the English sentences are really simple, the Google Translate is better. And one thing that we do is we exclude some words. So some words are never translated. So we have a way to say inside the page, okay, this word should never be translated. So for example, Galaxy should never be translated.
Yeah.
So you have way to
tag them.
You can trigger a bit Google Translate to do that. or the boxes with the parameters and things are never translated, for example. So.
Thank you very much, Bérénice, one more time. Applause again. So I guess
thanks a lot.
everybody's doing that. And thank you for accepting the invitation.